The afternoon sun burned over Maplewood Estates, the kind of gated neighborhood where silence was supposed to mean peace. But today, silence meant danger. "Excuse me?" Karen's voice ripped through the air like a siren. My daughter Lila, 12 years old, stood frozen by the mailbox clutching a letter, her brown hair trembling in the wind. She couldn't hear the woman behind her. Couldn't hear the fury building like thunder. Karen marched across the pavement, heels snapping like gunshots. "Are you ignoring me again?" she barked, loud enough for the other residents trimming their lawns to stop and look. Lila turned, confused, her eyes searching, hands starting to move, gentle gestures, graceful, desperate. But to Karen, it looked like defiance. "She's mocking me," Karen shouted. "These people have no respect for HOA rules, not even teaching their kid manners." My wife ran from the porch. "Karen, she's deaf." But the words came too late. Phones were already out, neighbors recording, and my daughter's small hands kept signing in panic, begging to explain, to apologize for a sound she could never hear. That was the moment everything changed. Because someone else was watching. A quiet, barefoot girl at the corner of the street. No phone, no judgment, just understanding. Her fingers moved too, mirroring Lila's signs. A silent bridge between two worlds that no one else in that HOA ever cared to see. And in that single moment, while Karen's laughter echoed, the poor girl signed something that would unravel every lie, every insult, every piece of power that woman thought she owned. Before all the shouting, before the HOA meetings and public shame, there was peace. Our house sat at the edge of Maplewood Estates, a quiet suburban community where lawns were trimmed sharp enough to make your feet itch, and the scent of lemon polish floated from every porch. To most people, it was paradise. To Lily, it was a silent movie she had learned to love. Every morning, she'd wake before the sun, pad barefoot into the kitchen, and tap my shoulder twice, her way of saying good morning. She'd smile, hair tangled, eyes full of light. I'd sign back, "Pancakes or cereal?" And she'd grin, forming a perfect P with her fingers every single time. Pancakes, always pancakes. Her mother, Claire, handled mornings with quiet grace. She had become fluent in ASL after Lily's diagnosis at 2. She used to cry when doctors said Lily might never connect. But over time, she realized connection wasn't about sound. It was about attention. And Lily had our full attention. In the evenings, we'd sit on the back porch. Lily would point to fireflies, her eyes wide as they flickered. "Stars that learn to visit," she once signed, giggling. It was the kind of poetic innocence you could only find in silence. Neighbors often waved. Some smiled kindly. Others avoided eye contact, unsure how to interact with a deaf child. But none were cruel, not yet. Karen's name rarely came up, except in whispered complaints about HOA letters. Fence too high, garbage can visible, unauthorized mailbox color. We didn't know then that she had a list, and Lily was about to become her next target. On weekends, Lily would sit by the sidewalk drawing in chalk, butterflies, hands, words she couldn't hear but wanted to feel. Hello, friend, home. She hoped someone would stop and draw beside her. Most just smiled and walked past, until one day, a thin little girl from the cheaper part of town wandered by. She didn't speak, just watched. Lily looked up, hesitated, then signed hello. The girl blinked, surprised, and slowly, clumsily signed back. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. That was the day everything started to change, not because of noise or anger, but because two girls, one deaf and one poor, found a way to talk in a world too loud to listen. And in a neighborhood obsessed with perfection, their friendship was about to expose every ugly secret hidden beneath white fences and manicured lawns. The first time Karen spoke to us directly, she was holding a clipboard, the suburban sword of authority. Her lipstick matched the roses she pruned every morning, and her sunglasses reflected everything except accountability. "Mr. Davis," she called out, crossing our driveway as I was loading groceries. "We've had a few concerns from the community." She said community like it was her private kingdom. I nodded, already tired. "What kind of concerns, Karen?" She flipped through her papers with exaggerated patience. "Well, it seems your daughter's Drawings are all over the sidewalk. Chalk dust everywhere. Some residents feel it lowers property value. I blinked. You mean the butterflies? Her lips tightened. And the hands. Some say it's unsettling. She meant the drawings of sign language gestures. Lily's way of teaching others words like friend, hope, and thank you. She's a child, I said, keeping my voice level. She's expressing herself. Karen gave a small, hollow laugh. Of course. We all love expression. Just maybe in private, not on HOA property. From the porch, Lily watched us, unaware of the tone but catching the body language. Her hands started moving, quick signs of curiosity and concern. Karen's gaze followed, eyebrows rising. What's she doing? She asked sharply. She's asking if you're mad, I said. Karen's face shifted, pity melting into irritation. She can't just wave her hands at people like that. It's confusing. Rude even. Rude, I repeated. Disbelief thick in my chest. She's talking. Karen shrugged. Well, maybe teach her to talk properly. We have neighborhood kids, and they're starting to copy her little gestures, and it's odd. That word. Odd. It hung between us like poison. Later that evening, another letter came, HOA notice number 12, claiming excessive sidewalk markings and unapproved activity in public space. It was ridiculous. But more than that, it was personal. I tore it up, but Lily saw my face before I could hide it. She tugged my sleeve and signed, "Did I do something bad?" I froze, and from that day forward, she stopped drawing. The chalk box sat untouched for weeks, but Karen wasn't done. At community meetings, she'd toss in casual remarks. Some people just don't fit the Maplewood standard, while others nodded politely, unwilling to confront her. That's how it began. The slow, polished cruelty of a woman who mistook authority for power and a community too comfortable to question her. She had no idea that her next complaint would cross a line even she couldn't. Control. Because the day she humiliated my daughter in public, the day she made her cry in front of everyone, would become the day her empire of control started to crumble. The day it all exploded was supposed to be simple. The annual Maplewood block party, an event Karen treated like her personal parade. Every driveway lined with balloons, every grill inspected twice by her safety committee, every family pretending to enjoy themselves under her rules. We'd kept our distance. Claire thought it might be good for Lily to mingle, though. She's been practicing her new signs, she said. So we went. Lily wore her favorite blue sundress, hair tied with a white ribbon, a sketchbook clutched to her chest. She was so excited, tapping her fingers rhythmically to the vibrations of the nearby speakers. The first hour went fine. Lily helped a few kids decorate cupcakes, her bright smile drawing quiet admiration from some parents. But then Karen arrived, clipboard, sunglasses, iced drink, and that tight smile that meant trouble. She stopped in front of Lily's booth. "Oh, this is cute," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. I didn't realize we were allowing special activities this year. I froze mid-conversation with another neighbor. Claire's grip on my arm tightened. Lily didn't hear her. She was showing a younger child how to sign thank you. The little boy copied her, giggling, proud of himself. The small crowd clapped, except Karen. Karen stepped closer, leaned down, and waved her hand in Lily's face. "Hello? Can you hear me?" Lily looked up, startled, eyes wide. She smiled politely, signed, "Sorry, I can't hear you." Karen blinked, then straightened, voice dripping with mock surprise. "Oh, that's what this is. You're one of those signing kids. How adorable." The parents fell silent. A few glanced around awkwardly. One man whispered, "Karen, maybe..." But she wasn't done. She laughed, that fake plastic laugh that carried across the park. "Well, maybe next time you should listen when someone talks to you. We have rules about ignoring HOA officials, young lady." Her tone sliced through the laughter and music. The DJ lowered the volume, sensing tension. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She began signing quickly, hands shaking. "I wasn't ignoring you, I can't hear." Karen folded her arms. "What is she doing now? Throwing gang signs?" That was it. Claire dropped her plate, eyes blazing, and marched forward. I followed. "Karen," she hissed, "you don't talk to my daughter like that." "Oh, relax," Karen said, smirking. "I'm just saying what others are thinking. Not everyone's comfortable with this." "This?" Claire repeated, trembling. "You mean a child communicating?" Karen scoffed, turning to the crowd as if searching for support. "All I'm saying is if she wants to live in a civilized neighborhood, she should act civilized." Lily couldn't hear the words, but she saw the faces. The pity, the confusion, the judgment. And she knew. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she ran. The sound of her feet hitting the pavement was the only sound that mattered. And as the crowd murmured, Karen adjusted her sunglasses and muttered, "You see? Drama, every time." She didn't know that her words had been recorded, that the truth, captured on a single shaky phone video, was about to burn through Maplewood like wildfire. By the next morning, the video had already started making quiet rounds across Maplewood. Someone from the party had posted it to the neighborhood group chat with the caption, "HOA chair yells at deaf girl." The clip was short, just 20 seconds. Karen waving her hand in Lily's face. The words, "Maybe next time you should listen," ringing clear over the laughter and music. That was all it took. Within hours, phones were buzzing, text chains lighting up. Some neighbors defended her. I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. Others were furious, especially the parents who'd watched it happen. But the loudest voice was still Karen's. She went on the HOA Facebook page that night, typing a long post about miscommunication and disrespectful behavior toward authority. She ended it with, "As HOA chair, it's my duty to maintain standards, even when emotions run high." She made it sound like we were the problem. By Monday, 3 new letters arrived in our mailbox. Noise complaint during party, unauthorized signage on public pavement, lack of proper supervision of a minor. I stared at them, pulse pounding. She was retaliating. Quietly. Systematically. Claire tried to stay calm for Lily's sake, but every time she saw our daughter sitting silently by the window, her heart cracked a little more. Lily hadn't gone outside since the party. She stopped signing entirely, retreating into a stillness we hadn't seen since she was a toddler. At night, she would scribble on her sketch pad, not drawings this time, just words she'd memorized from reading lips. Uncivilized, ignoring, rude, each one written smaller than the last, until the pencil broke. I wanted to storm over to Karen's perfect lawn, tear down her HOA proud banner, and make her feel even a fraction of what she'd done. But Claire stopped me. "That's what she wants," she whispered. "We'll fight differently," but the isolation grew thicker by the day. Neighbors who once waved now crossed the street. Others avoided eye contact, afraid to take sides. It's strange how silence can feel louder than any insult. One afternoon, a small knock came at our door. It was the poor girl, the same one from the sidewalk weeks ago. Her name was Maya. She stood clutching an old notebook, eyes unsure. "I saw the video," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It wasn't fair what she did," Claire invited her in. That's when we learned something none of us expected. Maya could sign. Not perfectly, but enough. Her mother used to be an interpreter before she passed away. Maya had kept the language alive by practicing in secret. She looked at Lily, who hadn't made a single sign in days, and slowly raised her hands. "You okay?" For the first time since the party, Lily smiled. Just barely. But it was there. That small flicker of connection between two girls, one poor, one deaf, began to rebuild something Karen could never understand. Quiet strength. Because while Karen kept spreading rumors online, a truth far bigger than her pride was about to surface, and it would come not from loud words or angry posts, but from hands that spoke the truth she refused to hear. That week felt like walking through fog. Lily stopped coming downstairs in the mornings. Her cereal went untouched. Her laughter, the kind that used to shake her shoulders and light up the whole kitchen, disappeared. The house became painfully quiet, even for a home that already lived in silence. Every time I saw her sitting by the window, tracing raindrops with her finger, something inside me cracked a little more. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even sad anymore. She just looked empty. One evening, I walked past her room and found her sketchbook open on the floor. The pages were filled with drawings of hands, signing sorry, alone, why. At the bottom of the last page, she had drawn a single trembling word in pencil. Bad. I sank to the floor. She had started believing what Karen said. Claire sat beside me, tears blurring her vision. "We can't lose her to this," she whispered. "She's shutting down. We tried everything. Music she could feel, her favorite chocolate chip pancakes, gentle touches on her shoulder. Nothing worked." She barely responded. That night, I stood in her doorway watching her sleep. Even her dreams looked heavy. The moonlight slid across her pale face as her fingers twitched unconsciously. Signing "stop, please, no," my anger built into something poisonous. Every ounce of restraint I had left started to crumble. I wanted to drive to Karen's house right then and there, rip her stupid HOA badge off her chest, and make her see what she'd done. But Claire stopped me again, voice trembling but firm. "No, Michael. That's what she expects, another angry dad. We need truth, not rage." Her words didn't comfort me, but they grounded me. Because deep down we both knew this wasn't just about a bully anymore. It was about a system that let people like Karen hide cruelty behind rules, policies, and fake smiles. And then, as if the universe finally heard us, something shifted. The next day, Lily came downstairs, not smiling, not cheerful, but awake. Behind her stood Maya, holding a worn binder. She had found something. Papers, emails, maybe secrets. From the HOA office Karen had been guarding like gold. Maya's hands trembled as she signed. "I think I found what she's hiding." That moment, that tiny, defiant spark, was when grief began to turn into purpose. Because if Karen wanted silence, she was about to get it, just not the kind she expected. Maya became a quiet presence in our home, like a candle that didn't ask for attention but still filled the room with light. She came every afternoon after school, carrying her old backpack patched with thread and covered in faded stickers. Inside, it weren't toys or snacks, but papers, notes, and her mother's old sign language books. She told us her story slowly, sometimes through signs, sometimes through broken sentences. Her mother had been an interpreter for hospitals before passing away from cancer. They'd lost their home after medical bills piled up. And now Maya lived with her grandmother in the small, rusted apartments beyond the gated neighborhood line, the place Karen often called the eyesore behind Maplewood. It turned out Maya knew a lot about the HOA. Her grandmother worked part-time as a cleaner at the HOA office, and she'd seen things, late-night meetings, envelopes exchanged, receipts shredded. "Karen, she takes money," Maya signed, fumbling but clear. "She uses it for herself." Claire and I glanced at each other. It sounded too big to be true, but Maya insisted, flipping open her binder and showing us photos she'd secretly taken, printed financial statements, scanned letters. One even signed K. Holloway, HOA chairperson. It was real. And it was ugly. Maya smiled faintly at Lily and signed, "We can stop her." For the first time in weeks, Lily's eyes lit up. She moved her hands slowly, nervously. "How?" Maya grinned. "With truth." From that day on, our house turned into a quiet command center. Maya taught Lily how to record videos in sign language, how to overlay subtitles, and how to explain what had really happened. Not just at the block party, but every cruel moment since. At night, I'd hear faint laughter again. Lily and Maya practicing signs for justice, truth, and bravery. They'd rehearse messages to post online. One word at a time, their friendship growing in the same silence that once crushed her. Claire watched them through tears, whispering, "She's coming back." Meanwhile, Maya dug deeper. Her grandmother helped her recover more files. HOA payments redirected to Karen's personal account, false fines, and manipulation of residents. The empire of control Karen built with rules and fear had cracks, and two young girls, one deaf and one poor, were finding their way right through them. The irony wasn't lost on me. Karen's downfall wouldn't come from a powerful lawyer or a rich neighbor. It would come from two kids she'd dismissed as lesser. The night before everything changed, Maya signed to Lily under the porch light. Tomorrow. We tell everyone. Lily's response was simple, but it shook me. We'll make them listen, even if they don't hear. And as the warm glow of the porch light flickered over their hands, I realized this wasn't just a friendship. It was a revolution born in silence. The plan started small. Two girls at a kitchen table, a deaf child and a poor orphan, plotting the collapse of the most feared woman in Maplewood. Lily and Maya worked side by side every afternoon, their hands moving in flashes of determination. Maya handled the words. Lily handled the emotion. Together they built something powerful, a video diary that told the truth in a way no adult could deny. Each clip opened with Lily signing a simple phrase. My name is Lily Davis. I can't hear your words, but I can feel your hate. Then she told her story through sign, how she was mocked, how her drawings were erased, how rules became weapons. Maya translated every sign into captions, her voice trembling but firm as she narrated. They edited until midnight, whispering and laughing softly, their shadows moving on the wall like old souls who'd finally found their rhythm again. When the final video rendered, it was nearly 7 minutes long, silent except for Maya's voiceover and the natural sounds of the neighborhood. Wind, birds, distant lawnmowers. The ending showed the receipts, the HOA's missing funds, the secret payments, Karen's signature. Claire and I watched the finished video in silence, goosebumps crawling up my arms. It was raw, unpolished, and devastatingly human. Claire whispered, This could change everything. But Maya wasn't done. She suggested showing it first at the upcoming HOA town meeting, the one Karen always used as her stage for power. If we post it online first, she signed, she'll spin it. But if we show it in front of everyone, she can't run. It was risky, dangerous even. But Lily nodded. We do it. The week leading up to the meeting was tense. Karen, sensing something, doubled down. She sent another violation letter, this time accusing us of unauthorized filming of residents. She was getting desperate. That Friday, as the community hall filled with folding chairs and fake smiles, Lily stood outside holding her tablet, trembling but steady. Maya beside her, ready to translate. Claire squeezed my hand. No turning back now. Inside, Karen began her speech. As HOA chair, she announced proudly, I've always upheld the highest standards of... That's when Maya pressed play. The screen behind her flickered to life. Lily's face appeared, calm, beautiful, signing her first words. This is my voice. The room fell silent. Every neighbor turned. The whispers started. Karen froze mid-sentence. Line after line appeared. Her cruel words from the party, the hidden files, the forged receipts. The sound of her own laughter echoing through the hall. For the first time, Karen wasn't in control, and as Lily signed the final line, now you can hear me, I saw something break in every face watching. This wasn't just exposure. It was truth delivered without a single word spoken. The room was dead silent. Not a whisper, not a shuffle. Just the hum of the projector and Lily's hands moving across the screen. Slow, steady, unstoppable. Karen's face, once full of arrogance, had turned pale. Her jaw twitched, but no words came. She looked around for support, but every pair of eyes in that room had turned against her. The neighbors she'd ruled with fear were now seeing her, truly seeing her, for the first time. The video cut between her smirk at the block party and the financial documents Maya had uncovered. Each receipt appeared like a bullet. HOA fees redirected to personal maintenance, landscaping contracts paid to non-existent companies, donations for community events cashed under her name. And then Lily's voice, or rather, Maya's voice reading her signs filled the speakers. She said I should act civilized. But what's civilized about mocking a child for being different? A collective gasp rippled across the hall. A few parents covered their mouths. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Karen slammed her clipboard on the table. "That video is edited," she shouted, her voice cracking. "You people don't understand context. This is slander." But Maya stood, small, fragile, yet unshaken. She raised her hands and signed, "Everything is real. You can check the dates." "The files are in her computer." Karen turned toward her, eyes blazing. "You little liar." Before she could finish, another voice cut through the air. Mr. Holloway, her own treasurer, standing at the back. "She's telling the truth," he said flatly. "I've been trying to warn everyone. Karen's been falsifying HOA records for months." The room erupted. People shouted. Phones came out. "Someone called the county inspector right there." Karen stumbled backward, face drained of color. "You're all making a mistake. You'll regret this!" But no one listened. The same community that once feared her now turned its back without hesitation, and through it all, Lily stood still, watching with wide eyes. Not smiling, just breathing. Finally free of the weight she'd carried, the video ended with her last sign: "We all deserve to be heard." Applause broke out, hesitant at first, then thunderous. Parents rushed to hug Lily and Maya. Even the kids who'd once teased her lined up to learn her signs. Karen was escorted out by 2 county officers that night. She didn't look back. For the first time, the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was cleansing. Claire held Lily close, tears streaming down her face. "You did it, baby," she whispered, and Lily signed, her hands trembling. "No, we did." That moment became the heartbeat of Maplewood. A reminder that the loudest truth sometimes comes from the quietest voices. But what happened after that night, how the neighborhood changed, and what Karen did next would prove that even justice has an echo. For a few days, Maplewood existed in stunned silence, the kind that comes after a thunderstorm when everyone's afraid to step outside and see what's left. Karen's empire had fallen overnight. Her HOA privileges were suspended. County auditors seized files. The community page, once filled with her daily reminders, turned into a stream of apology posts and neighbor confessions. People finally spoke. People finally listened. But the woman herself, the Queen of Maplewood, wasn't finished. 3 days after the meeting, I woke to the sound of tires crunching gravel. Karen's white SUV was parked outside our house. She stepped out, no sunglasses this time, no coffee, no clipboard. "Just eyes, a red, wild, furious," Claire gasped. "Michael, don't—" But I was already at the door. She marched up the walkway, holding a folder stuffed with papers. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "You humiliated me in front of my neighbors, my board, everyone. I built this community. You think some sob story video can erase me?" Before I could answer, Lily appeared in the doorway behind me. Barefoot, calm, eyes unblinking. She signed one word. "Why?" Karen froze. Her breathing hitched, confusion flickering through rage. "Why what?" Lily stepped forward, signing slower this time, clear and deliberate. "Why did you hate me?" The question hung in the air. It wasn't shouted. It didn't need to be. It pierced through Karen's armor sharper than any insult. Karen stammered, eyes darting. "I didn't hate you. I wanted order, rules, respect." Maya stepped from the porch, joining Lily's side. "Respect?" she said softly. "You screamed at a deaf child?" Karen's jaw trembled. She opened the folder, shaking it. "You think you're better than me? Look at this. All your violation letters. I was doing my job." "You called her uncivilized," I said quietly. "That's not a job. That's cruelty." Her lips parted, but no sound came. For the first time, Karen didn't have a script to hide behind. Behind us, other neighbors began gathering, drawn by the commotion. Phones lifted, whispers spread. The same community she once commanded now watched her unravel in real time. Lily stepped closer, tears welling in her eyes, but her hands steady. "I forgive you," she signed. Karen blinked. What did she say?" Maya translated softly. She said she forgives you. The words broke her. She took a step back, shaking her head, muttering, "No, no, no." And then she dropped the folder, papers scattering like snow across the pavement, her rules, her warnings, her control, gone. She turned away, covering her face as she stumbled to her car. The crowd parted, silent. When her door slammed and the engine roared to life, it wasn't power anymore. It was escape. As the SUV disappeared down the street, the neighbors began clapping, not the applause of celebration, but of relief. Lily stood still, watching the horizon. She turned to Maya, smiled faintly, and signed, "It's quiet again." Maya nodded, signing back, the good kind of quiet. That evening, the HOA board held an emergency vote. Karen's position was officially revoked, and for the first time in years, Maplewood chose a new direction, one without fear. Weeks later, the county released an official report confirming everything Maya had exposed. Karen had siphoned over $60,000 in HOA funds for personal gain. Legal charges followed. She was ordered to repay every cent, but Lily never mentioned her again. She didn't need to. Her silence wasn't sadness anymore. It was peace. A month later, the neighborhood held a Community Appreciation Day. Only this time, it wasn't Karen's event. It was Lily's. She opened it with a short video message in sign language, projected on the same screen that once exposed the truth. Maya voiced the translation live. "We all live in the same world. Some just listen differently. But when we care, we all hear the same thing: kindness." The applause that followed wasn't polite. It was emotional, raw, human. And as Lily looked out at her neighbors signing thank you back to her, dozens of hands raised in silent unity, I realized something. Karen's rules had kept us separate. Lily's silence had brought us together. Justice wasn't just served, it was understood. In the weeks that followed, Maplewood began to feel like an entirely different place. The silence that once carried judgment now carried peace. Neighbors who had spent years avoiding each other finally started talking, not out of gossip, but out of shame, empathy, and gratitude. The very people who once whispered about that deaf girl now waved whenever they saw her. Kids who'd once stared curiously at her hands were now learning to sign basic words. "Hello, friend, sorry, thank you." Every evening, laughter and light returned to our street, the kind that didn't need approval from an HOA rule book. The board was reorganized completely. Karen's office, once her private throne, was cleared out and turned into a small community inclusion center where residents could come learn about disabilities, communication, and kindness. It was Maya's idea. She said if people could learn the language of silence, maybe they'd stop fearing it. Maya and Lily became inseparable. They'd sit by the same sidewalk where the chalk drawings once got her in trouble, sketching new pictures, bright hands, hearts, and the word hope written in giant letters. No one erased it this time. In fact, the HOA paid to seal it under a clear coat so it would never wash away. Claire often watched them from the porch, tears glinting in her eyes. "It's strange," she whispered one night, "how something so cruel could lead to something this beautiful." I nodded. Sometimes the world needs to break before it listens. Even after Karen's sentencing, 6 months community service, and full repayment of the stolen funds, she never returned to Maplewood. But her absence wasn't bitter. It was peaceful, like the air after a storm. And Lily, she wasn't the same girl anymore. The shyness that once made her shrink from crowds had turned into quiet confidence. She started volunteering at a local school for kids with hearing loss, teaching others to sign through pictures and gestures. The teachers said she had a natural gift. Her hands didn't just move, they spoke. Sometimes I'd find her standing in front of the mirror, practicing words I could only barely understand. But when she caught me watching, she'd smile and sign, "I'm okay now." Those were the words I had been waiting to see. Karen had tried to humiliate her into silence, but instead she'd given her the power to make the world listen. And as I watched my daughter teaching the same neighbors who once pitied her, I realized the real victory wasn't justice. It was transformation. Because Maplewood had finally learned the one lesson Karen never could, that silence isn't weakness. It's strength, waiting to be understood. A year later, the sound of laughter echoed once again through Maplewood, the kind that didn't need to be perfect, only real. The lawn still glistened after rain, but this time the neighborhood didn't shine because of its rules. It shined because of its people. At the entrance of the community stood a new sign, Maplewood, where kindness speaks louder than words. Right beside it, a bronze plaque displayed Lily's name and a small pair of sculpted hands forming the sign for love. It was unveiled during the first annual Silent Hearts Fair, a celebration organized by the residents themselves to honor inclusion and empathy. Lily and Maya ran the opening event together. They stood on stage, hands moving in fluid rhythm, translating a poem they'd written. We don't need sound to be heard. We don't need wealth to be seen. We just need hearts willing to listen. The audience, children, parents, even former critics, signed thank you back in unison, dozens of hands moving gently under the golden afternoon light. For the first time, silence felt sacred. After the ceremony, a woman approached quietly from the crowd, thin, nervous, older than before. Karen. No bodyguards, no sunglasses, no clipboard. Just humility in human form. She hesitated before speaking. I came to apologize, she said softly. I watched your video, all of it. I didn't understand before. I do now. Claire nodded slowly, her expression neither angry nor forgiving, just calm. Understanding is a start, she said. Karen turned to Lily, eyes wet. I can't undo what I did, but I wanted you to know. You changed me. Lily didn't respond with words. She simply raised her hands and signed peace. Maya whispered the translation. Karen nodded, tears falling. Then she turned and walked away quietly, leaving behind the woman she once was. That night, as fireflies blinked through the garden, Lily sat on the porch beside Maya. She looked at the stars and signed. Do you think people like her can change forever? Maya smiled. If we could, so can she. And as the soft breeze carried their laughter into the night, I realized this story wasn't just about justice. It was about translation, not between languages, but between hearts. Because in a world that often shouts to be heard, two little girls had taught us something no law, no HOA, and no power could silence, that compassion has its own volume.